But she was gone a lot.
But they email me constantly because they find me super involved in Shirley's closet and they were so inspired by my
She asked me for a job at Federation, and he wants to come on board.
They really, I really honestly, I truly think that we have a kind of good channel. I think that kind of body commentary is a function of people so unaware of others. So Sophie, so she was all over Sophie last night. And Sophie,
there's at least 20 more people than there are seats. Or like just sit on some wood chairs. And I don't know what to do. They're just telling you what they want.
You're definitely not calling him.
I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am divinity defined. I am the God.
Shabbat Shalom. We haven't reached Shavua Tov yet because we haven't made Havdalah, which we will. But it's wonderful to see you all here because we are about to enter into the portal of our High Holy Days. And it is a very exciting opportunity. Some of you, Slichot is part of your every year experience. I see newer faces, which means it may not be. And I'm really glad that you're here because it really is a transcendent moment to breathe in what we're about to experience over the next couple of weeks. And I'm very honored that this incredible person who I'm about to introduce, who I know a little bit, has agreed to present this evening. To understand and to know Nicole, you know her in her own ways. Many of you have been privy to some of the programs she's done with RWBI and in other ways during Rosh Chodesh. But I think what we're about to experience this evening is really special and to set the tone for what I believe is the essence of our High Holy Days. So just to give you a little bit about this individual you're about to hear, Nicole Navarez. I know a little bit about her CV, but the most important thing is that she's been married to me for 20 years and put up with me for 30 years. That's more the case. But in truth, Nicole is a master teacher, educator, a consultant, and she is the founding chief executive officer of a national Jewish organization called Talmud, which works very hard in the Jewish landscape to rid toxicity around bring healthy workplace culture to the many organizations that make up the Jewish landscape. You've heard of Jewish organizations and you've heard of toxicity. She's very busy. Let's just put it that way. But we're very excited because her work threads and weaves through many pieces of not only Jewish knowledge and teaching, but also understanding how people work at their core. And so we are a very heady household. We speak a lot and wrestle a lot and think a lot about different things, but tonight is also about the emotion and about how we lean into that a little more. Because if we look at the threads of our social media posts, they can be enraging at times. And I really believe tonight is about letting go a little bit and centering ourselves. So I turn it over to Nicole and share your wisdom with us.
I'm going to ask you to just start by sinking into your chair. And into this piece of music.
I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light.
We can bring it down, Jeremy.
I am light.
Hi. We were just talking outside about not knowing what the appropriate greeting is on Slichot. Like, are we at Shana Tova? Rabbi said maybe not. So I'm just going to say hi. Thanks for being here. I have actually not stood up in front of a group this size and facilitated or taught in like quite a while. And if I have, it's been our own curriculum from Talmud. So I'm a little nervous. I feel like I'm coming out of my shell a little bit for the first time in a while. And I'm super humbled to have been asked to be here with you tonight. Really, it's an honor. It's an absolute honor. And what I want to invite us to tonight is really my facilitation of the teaching of a lot of my teachers. So there's like a lot of slides and a lot of quotes because I spend a lot of my life leaning into the powerful teaching of amazing humans in our tradition and outside of our tradition who remind me every day how to show up in this extraordinarily challenging human experience with a little bit more joy. And so we're going to lean into that today. So we're going to start with the great India Ari. Anybody heard this song before that we were just playing? Besides right, of course, our contemporary confessions folks know. She's going to go on, and if we had more time, we might sit in the whole song and do a little meditation in it, but we didn't. So she's going to go on and say, I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. And you might have noticed, and we'll talk about it again in a minute, she starts the song by saying all the things she's not, right? And they're connected to things that we would identify as negative and painful. And her point is simply that the most fundamental sacred reminder, which is that we are fundamentally whole, well beings. I have spent most of my adult life using the language of being on a healing journey. And as of like 2 months ago, I've completely shifted my lens away from the idea that I need to heal, which implies that I'm broken in some way, and toward the idea that I am completely whole and completely present as a light and divinity at all times. But there's a lot of gunk on top of the wholeness. There's a lot of pollution. And so I have shifted away from the idea that we need to heal toward the idea that we need to clear. So I'm on a garbage and recycling journey now at this point. But this seems so simple, right? Like, I got it, I know. I know that fundamentally in my quiet spaces, in my most holy moments, in synagogue, on the beach, in nature, I have those moments of I know that I'm light. It's so simple. My experience is that it's incredibly not easy. It's an incredibly challenging thing to stay in this place. And for a lifetime at this point already of studying this stuff, I'm like, are we there yet? And we're not. Rabbi Navarez can attest that we're not. So let's talk a little bit about joy. And the first thing we're going to do is like define it a little bit for ourselves in a minute. But without defining it, without me providing you with a definition yet, okay? If I ask you, just show of hands, how many of you feel that you experience joy, like on the regular? And before you raise your hand, I'm not defining this for you, right? So in any way, how many of you feel like it is a regular experience and practice in your life that you have access to moments of joy? Okay, that's almost all of you. That's really extraordinary. I'm done. Okay, no. And how many of you feel like accessing joy is challenging? Often. Sometimes. Okay, so that's also most of you. Interesting, right? It's accessible and also it's challenging to access. And I think for many of us, the experience of the last few years, in particular, the pandemic, political unrest, all of the things that we're facing every day. I was laughing for a moment about Jason mentioning social media. I have gone on a complete and total news divestment, mostly social media too. It's a really great way to live. But when that is swirling around us all day, every day, I was just talking to a colleague the other day who we get on the phone, and in my work, we're very, very committed to checking in, like, how's everybody showing up? And we're just getting to know each other, but I only work with the real people. And she says, I'm okay, I think. And she's like, it's like I wake up and I think I'm okay, and then like 5 minutes of the news, and I'm like, are we okay? I don't know. So it really asks us then to cultivate joy as a real practice, that it's not just about having those moments you go, oh, I feel joyful, but actually cultivating it as a practice. Because this sacred space, this indwelling divine, it's always present. It's always accessible. We are always whole. It is the place that joy lives when we are in alignment with it. But what are we even talking about? Like, what do we mean by joy? What are we talking about? So you tell me. I'm going to tell you what Merriam-Webster has to say about it, and then I'm going to totally disagree with Merriam-Webster. But who wants to share first? Like, when I say to you, I asked you, do you feel like you can access joy? Everybody raise their hand. What did you mean? Anybody? Yeah.
Occasionally feeling at peace.
Nancy said occasionally feeling at peace. Okay, animals, new kittens, she says, they do funny things and they make her laugh. So your definition is laughter. And Nancy, you shared peace, right? Yeah. New kittens too. Animals, I will tell you, social media-wise, one of the things I do engage with is silly animal stuff, because it's very real. Animals are an incredible reflection of all of this. Yeah.
Regardless of the stress or distress that can be triggered based upon circumstances, it means I'm connected, stay connected, which is the key word, a spiritual connection to self-love.
Beautiful, thank you. A spiritual connection to self-love. We're going to take two more. One. laughing, more with the laughter. Anybody ever heard of laughter therapy? It's very real. Often when you are in that space of like laughter that you can't stop, that is extreme joy and alignment, and you're having a somatic, a body-centered experience. Joy very much is not something that happens in our head. It happens in our bodies. Danny? Making music, right? So I just want to say you've named 3 of the most incredible portals to joy. Cute animals, music, and laughter. So you already have it down. Amazing. Let's see what Merriam-Webster says. So if you look up joy in the dictionary, it says, first of all, the emotion, right? So now we've already like narrowed the scope. It's an emotion, and it's evoked by well-being, success, good fortune, the prospect of possessing what one desires. What does that say to you? Is that an internal experience, right? I was like, I very often do this in my teaching. Like, I'm so curious. We use all these words, and I'm so curious what the dictionaries tell us they mean. If this was my experience of joy, it would be so limited, right? So underexpressed. And the other thing about this that I find really powerful and problematic is that it's all external, right? Like, I have to experience well-being, success, good fortune, getting what I want. And in fact, what India is saying to us, and what the other teachers that I'm going to bring to you in a moment are saying, is actually, like we say in Hebrew sometimes, dafka. Do you know what that means? Like, to the opposite. It's a deeply internal experience. So it's a whole body experience, right? What you just shared, especially about laughter, making music. It's so much more than inside of our head. And Judaism has a really special relationship to joy. The period of Sukkot, which we're about to come on, because we're already in that moment, once again, comes every year faster and faster, is called Zman Simchatenu, right? The time of our rejoicing. And we're literally commanded to rejoice, which I have a whole teaching on that for another time. But like, what does that even mean? To be commanded to rejoice? Like, how do we do that? I can't just like make joy well up in me necessarily, can I? I don't know. If joy is a practice, maybe there are modalities and kittens and laughter and music that I can access to bring me to that joy. So let's look what Judaism, go ahead, Toby, says a little bit about joy. So the Talmud itself, the very Talmud itself, suggests that in the world to come, so that's our idea of like heaven-ish, we don't really do heaven, but in the world to come, a person will have to stand judgment for every legitimate pleasure in this life that was renounced. The Nazarite, the person who gives up pleasures, like the ascetic essentially, of wine and family life to devote himself entirely to God, was called a sinner on the grounds that he gave up the joys of wine when the Torah did not require him to do so. So Judaism is so incredibly clear. Our tradition says joy is where it's at. Right? There are other traditions where, there are values around piety and poverty. We're not knocking other traditions, but our tradition sits very clearly in the celebration of abundance. It's incredibly, incredibly clear in our teachings. As I just said, there's a mitzvah, there's a commandment to joy during Sukkot. And a couple of other just sort of text-based fodder for that. Rabbi Israel Salanter of Vilna, so one of our great sages of the many centuries ago, I forgot to write the dates, to be a good Jew, problematic term what a good Jew is, but let's say to be an engaged Jew, has to have every human quality and its opposite. The Torah doesn't consecrate prohibition. It offers the full range of human emotion and behavior. And there's a lot of teaching about sort of like the yin-yang reflection in Judaism. We don't use that terminology, but the balance of like the human experience. We're taught, there's a teaching, and I'm forgetting who this comes from at the moment, but who said, it might actually be in Maimonides, but I'm not sure, who says like a person should neither be too angry nor not angry at all, and neither too loving nor not loving at all, but that the actual like flavor of what we're being taught is to find a state of balance, to be fully human. And in order to access joy, we have to have that fully human experience. We don't actually know what joy is if we haven't also experienced pain and hardship and challenges, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then I just have this Ecclesiastes quote that we all know so well because the song, but that there's a time for everything. That joy, so much of what it means to be joyful is to be fully engaged in the human experience. So, as I said, that means that joy is a practice. It requires vulnerability. It asks us to open to the whole spectrum of the human experience because we can't have it without that whole holistic way of being in the world. And I'm not saying that we have to experience great pain to experience great joy, but I can't imagine there's a person in this room who has never experienced great pain. And it is very much a portal. It can be alchemized into some of the most spiritual and highest experiences of joy. How many of you in a moment of really major challenge, terrible loss, injury, illness, has found extraordinary connection to another person who was supporting you, or to your community who showed up for you, or to maybe a shift in perspective in the way that you see the world because your priorities shifted a little bit in that moment? That's alchemizing the pain into something that accesses more joy. Yes, thank you for raising your hand. You can go ahead, Toby. So India Ari, and this is one of my most favorite songs of all time, and she's very much a prophet. If anybody's not familiar with her work, she is, foundationally was an R&B artist. That's how she started her career, but she has actually sort of created a movement around music and meditation. And I'm calling back to the lyrics that she opened with, which is to say, I can't speak for any of you. I identify with every one of these almost every day. Almost every day I've got baggage going on from my family. I got voices in my head. I got something feeling broken, worried about my mistakes, worried about the things I didn't do. Many of you may know that we're about to launch a child. That's like an incredibly reflective, intense moment in life of oh my God, all the things I didn't do as his mom, right? This shows up every day, but it is also the reflection of the other side, that I get to be able to experience what it means to launch my child, right? The other night, our little one got the terrible news that she can't go to camp for the whole summer, next summer. So she's very upset. This was a big dream. She was very excited about it. We live in California. Schools go back early. She can't go to the whole summer. And we kind of told her, she moved through it. And about an hour later, I was sitting on my computer and she was doing some homework and she looked at me and said, "Can we please move back to the East Coast?" And I said, "What brought that up today? Because it's not the first time." And she just burst into tears, absolutely sobbing, about how disappointed she is. And she laid down in my lap and I just said, "Let it go, kid. The most important thing we can do is let that stuff come up. Most of our struggles in life, I believe, are stuck emotion, so get it out." And I realized as I was preparing this that I put my computer down, I let her lay on my lap, I stroked her head, she just cried. There was nothing to say, there's nothing to fix it. She's not going to camp for the whole summer. There was a lot of joy in that moment, in my ability to show up for her, in her ability to feel her feelings, in the fact that she has a place that she loves so very much that it hurts that much to not be able to do the things she wants to. So it's an incredibly interwoven tapestry, this practice of joy. So I can't teach anything that has anything to do with emotion without recalling Brené Brown. Is there anybody in here who doesn't know who Brené Brown is? Yes! All right, introducing people to Brené, that's so exciting. Okay, so Brené Brown is a social researcher, an author, a speaker. She does an incredible, her work is fascinating, it's also super deep, but intellectually it's also really fascinating because she researches shame. That's her primary work, and does an incredible amount of work around vulnerability. And she is one of my primary teachers. And she teaches us that joy stems from a feeling of deep connection and appreciation. It has a spiritual aspect, a sense of experiencing something greater and more powerful than ourselves. But it's the most vulnerable emotion, and so many people struggle to tolerate it. Because when that joy comes up, so often we go to a place of, it's gonna stop, it's gonna end. I can't feel this good, right? It automatically makes us incredibly vulnerable. And when we allow our hearts to fill with that indescribable feeling of joy, we become vulnerable to the possibility of it being taken away and loss, back to that like full expansion of human experience. And so she says that joy comes to us in ordinary moments. I just described one to you, right? I'm not saying we don't have I often recall back to Jason's ordination, which I still don't understand. I mean, it was a big deal, honey. But I still, sometimes, it really was one of the most powerful days of my life, and I still don't totally understand why. I was 9 months pregnant. So I feel like maybe the hormones a little bit were part of the picture. But I sat in so much emotion and so much joy that day. And so we have those moments. But then we have moments like on the couch with Sophie crying her eyes out about camp. And if we are in a state of practice of looking for those moments of connection, then we can understand that there is so much. I love what she says about if we don't pay attention to the ordinary moments, then we miss it because we're too busy chasing down the extraordinary, right? Your partner does not become ordained as a rabbi every day. We do not have weddings every day and, right, new babies every day. I mean, we do, but not in each of our individual lives. So in order to do this work, our tradition has something really powerful to teach us, which is that it calls us to slow down. I think go to the next slide, I think. Yay. So I do a lot in my work teaching about Hineni energy. So can somebody tell me what is Hineni? I mean, it's up there, but you tell me in your own words. What is this word? Here I am, okay? That's like the direct translation. Thank you. So it shows up in the Torah multiple times at pinnacle moments, right? When Abraham asks, when God asks Abraham to bind Isaac and sacrifice him, when God comes to Moses at the burning bush, and there's several other references. So it doesn't, Hineni is not just, I'm here. Like I'm here, hi, I'm in the room. It's, I am deeply, thank you, I am deeply present. I am here. I am in awareness. I am ready. And in our tradition, in our text, it comes at these really, really pinnacle moments, right? Abraham's willingness to sacrifice Isaac, Moses saying, yes, I'm going to go back to Pharaoh and, shepherd our people out of bondage. These are really big things that are happening. And so if we can cultivate some of that Hineni energy, then we have the opportunity to do what Brene is suggesting to us and to really lean into those ordinary moments of joy. Viktor Frankl, who is was a psychologist and an author and a teacher and spent 3 years in Auschwitz during the Shoah, writes, between stimulus and response, there is space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So when we lean into that Hineni energy, we have to slow down. We will miss the moments. We have to slow down, which is incredibly hard to do in our culture. How many of us, although it's a little better here in San Diego than it was in New York, but how many of us, when somebody says, hey, how are you doing? How often have you found yourself answering, or the person you're asking how they are answering, I'm whatever, but I'm just so busy. So busy. How you doing? Oh, so busy. Friends, busy is not an emotion, right? Busy is actually not like a human experience. So if we lean into this idea of slowing down into those moments of unexpected joy, we have so much opportunity. We called this session, I think I called it Awakening to Joy, something about like heart-centered living, something like that. And that's so much what this is about. Like how can we be connected to our authentic self, to that divine light that India teaches us about? How can we be connected to that deeply if we're just in a constant state of motion? And I'm not even talking about like sit down and meditate. I've been trying to meditate for 20 years. I'm still pretty pathetic. But I do it a lot, but not well. Right? It's a matter of like this is the Viktor Frankl, I use this in a ton of my work. It's one of the most powerful ideas for me because it means when you can catch yourself in that reaction moment and just a split second, then you have the freedom to access your authentic self, which gives us more capacity for joy. What are we up to? Okay. And like I said, we don't skip steps. Like life is a lot. The human experience, particularly in our time, is incredibly challenging. So this isn't about like, let's walk around being joyful. This is about the opportunity to access that through all the realities of our day-to-day life. But we don't skip all that pain, right? We don't skip the hard stuff. And many of us have very ongoing experiences of hard in our lives. So there's nothing, one of the things I love the most about Judaism is that it's so real about the human experience, right? There's nowhere in Judaism it's like, you should be happy all the time. Or like, if you live in the divine spirit, all will be perfect. It speaks constantly to the reality of human fallibility and the extensive challenges of the human experience. Okay, so we talked about how it's kind of been a rough few years. So I don't know a single person that, no matter what's going on in their personal life, isn't experiencing that it's a challenging time to be in the world. So I want to close the sort of third leg of our conversation, then we're going to do a little exercise and wrap up. But in thinking about the idea of joy as activism. Is that weird? What could I possibly mean by joy as activism? Anyone want to like jump in before I tell you? Yes, my friend.
Yeah, the space that you're talking about gives us an opportunity to create that space. What I mean by creating is choosing, knowing, or using tools to different avenues to create that space so that we can facilitate flexible intelligence, make choices.
So when we are in our most Hineni energy, present to ourselves, able to access joy, we have more capacity for showing up in the world with activism and acts of change. Yes? I paraphrased okay? Great. Thank you. Anyone else? When I say to you, joy is like activism. My response to things heating up really intensely politically several years ago when things started to get really hard, no matter where this is not politics, no matter where you stand on that spectrum, it was a hard moment, was radical self-care. People are like, what are you talking about? We need to stop, pause, lean into ourselves, because I cannot possibly show up to be the best arbiter of light in a world that is suffering if I am exhausted and so busy and not checked in, right? So bringing you another one of my teachers, the great Sonia Renee Taylor. Sonia is an activist and an author, and has anybody ever heard of her? Oh my God, now I'm double excited. How many new teachers can I bring you tonight? She's extraordinary. I just attended an incredible webinar with her and a couple of other the women who I follow called Joy in the Time of the Apocalypse. And it was the idea that it kind of feels like things are spinning out of control a lot these days, and that we have the opportunity to access joy. And so what she says is, even in the midst of all the stuff and whatever might be going on in our personal lives too, what if my joy is already here? If that idea we started with is true, that we are whole and we are light, we are the divinity inside, if that is always present, then what if joy is always here and I just need to look at what maybe I need to grieve to make room for it so that I can lean into deepening my trust for it? And then she has a whole body of teaching around love, which is a whole other session and probably more than one. But that, what would happen if I looked at this thing, right? I'm scrolling my social media. I opened the news thing. I heard, my neighbor just did something that is like totally abhorrent to me. What if I notice my reaction? I lean into it for a second, but I do that sacred pause, Hineni moment. What if I could then ask the question, is there a place to come from love with this? Is there a place to say, that person who just cut me off on the freeway is hurting. I'm so sorry. I have had moments in my life where people have really attacked me. Like, who's ever been attacked in a parking lot? I don't believe any of you. There's like 5 hands. Every single one of us has been through that experience, right? And I once was able with like such grace to look at this woman. I said, I'm sorry, you're so angry, right? For me, like there's joy in that moment because I could access a space of compassion. And gratitude practice helps us with this a lot. You can go ahead. Gratitude practice helps us with this a lot. This is also a very Brene Brown thing, that when we lean into practicing day to day the things that we're grateful for, and there's so many ways to do gratitude practice. I've been doing it for many years. It's pretty powerful. That helps us again, because when we have, remember she says like, we have to lean into those little ordinary moments. When we're practicing gratitude, like we actually create neural pathways in our brain that reorient us to gratitude and joy, and we have more of an opportunity to access it. And I just love this quote, I will never apologize. This is Karen Walrand, who's wrote a book about basically like how to be a warrior for light in the darkness of the world. She says, I'll never apologize for embracing joy and beauty, even when the world is falling apart, because joy and beauty are the fuel for my activism. It's what I was saying about radical self-love being an answer to things getting really hard. If I fall into that, or if I start to come from rage as my activism, it's so limited. But if I can tap into that whole space, it's infinite what is possible. Okay, this is my last teacher, Adrienne Marie Brown. Who also, all of these people are authors, and most of them are artists in some way or another, not surprising. She is a poet, an incredible poet. And I'm not gonna read you the whole quote, but fundamentally what she's saying is that if we recalibrated our lens, as I just suggested, and we thought about how we could bring love to a situation, to strife, then we have a whole other capacity for accessing change making in the world. So if instead of seeing an opponent and wanting to win, and think about how that shows up in your life in very everyday ways, right? In my work, the thing that is the hardest is getting it funded, because the philanthropic systems in our world are fundamentally rooted in inequity. And it's really hard to get our work funded. And I have a lot of anger around that, like a lot. Like to the point where I realized very recently that I had actually like given away a lot of my power in the last 6 months and how angry I've been about it. But what if I reoriented that and I wasn't trying to win from an opponent, but I was actually understanding like, yeah, this is rooted in a system that doesn't work, but if I can come from my best self, I have the opportunity to alchemize that and to shift within the system. So she says good stuff, but it's a long quote and I won't read you the whole one. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up in a minute. I'm gonna ask you to do something maybe a little bit uncomfortable, because it's slichot, and we like to lean into our discomfort to learn. And I'm gonna ask you to do a little body sense exercise with me, okay? So you heard me say a lot. Joy doesn't live in our heads, it lives in our bodies. So if you're comfortable and if you're willing, I can totally tell the people in the room who are like, I love this stuff. They're like getting ready, like 2 feet on the ground. They're like, I know where she's going. We're gonna close our eyes. I'm in. And then the other people who are like, oh my God, what is this? So go at your own pace, but 2 feet on the ground if you're willing and comfortable. Settle into your seat. My invitation is to close your eyes if that feels safe. And if it doesn't, you can cast your gaze just beyond your toes so that you're sort of closing out a little bit what's around you. And I want you to recall into your being a moment when you felt completely and wholly. And what I mean by that is not joy necessarily, could be, but any moment that you can remember that the experience of what was happening for you, good, bad, or ugly, just took over your whole system. Notice where that lives in your body. What are the sensations that arise around it? Does it have a texture or a color? Do you notice anything about what happens to your thoughts when you recall into that whole sense memory? Our bodies are each a universe of ancestral wisdom. They know how to access joy and wholehearted, authentic living. It only takes a moment like this to tap into it. When you're ready, you can take a deep breath if that works. Come back to our space. I was going to ask us to share a little, but I think we're going to run out of time. Toby, can I have the last slide, please? Slowing down, Hineni energy of the sacred pause, gratitude. It allows us to tap into joy in the fullness of our experience of everyday things. And these high holidays, this portal that we're opening tonight, is one of the most extraordinary structured tools that our tradition gives us to that. Think about the majesty that we experience in moments of Avinu Malkeinu, of hearing the shofar. If you have never taken a deep breath and closed your eyes and leaned into a shofar blast, I invite you to do that this year. It is extraordinarily powerful. So our tradition is offering us this for the next at least couple of weeks. It's always there for us. And I want to remind us of India's most sacred words. We are divinity defined. We are the God on the inside. We are the stars, a piece of it all. We are light. Collectively, may we go into these high holy days in search of wholehearted living, welcoming all of it, leaning into the full expansion of human experience so that we can access joy in all its forms and in all its bounty. Shana Tova.
I'm not going to share any words after that, I think. There's nothing I can share after that, just thank you. I'm going to invite you to take 3 minutes for your own reset as we come into the portal. Just take 3 minutes. That 3 minutes may be a bio break. That 3 minutes may be just to stretch your legs. The food is now gone. Just be, and then we will enter into our time together.
So, friends, I don't know if you have, but our sidurim are on the cart, and you might want to use them.
בין קודש לחול, חצוצנו ימחול. זרענו וכספנו ירבה כחול, והכוכבים בלילה. שבוע טוב, 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 שבוע טוב. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi.
Will you please be seated? Tonight in synagogues around the world, congregations are gathering for the beginning of Slichot. Before I speak, we'll start with an igun. We'll start with an igun and a prayer. And a prayer. We're going to start with a prayer. The rabbi is pretty sure we're starting with a prayer. Much smoother. Fantastic. This is the clergy and band warm-up to make sure. This is like spring training before we get into the actual season. So we're almost there. We're almost. I know. Well, you know, neither team is acting in best interest, so it's okay. Shavua Tov,
Shavua Tov.
Shana Tova. Tonight, now I can speak. Tonight, I'm good?
You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Tonight in synagogues around the world, congregations gather for the beginning of Slichot, the service that's infused with poems and with prayer that steer us in our personal request towards forgiveness. Many of us are here tonight, those gathered with us in our online community. We will spend hours together in the coming weeks, turning through pages of ancient and modern prayerful words, absorbing melodies and chants that serve as the pathway and the portal for the journey of the soul. The ancient words and traditional melodies still resonate with so many of us from our growing up, from those that perhaps are a little newer to us. And we turn to them each year, each and every year, with the hope is that we discover new layers and depths behind their meaning. While for others, they may challenge our potential for connection. But wherever you sit within our traditional or our contemporary liturgy, I want to invite you to open and expand your heart with joy. To bring in the resonance of all of the things that you may not even be accustomed to, and find meaning and purpose in them. How to chart the connection between the body and the soul. If the soul is eternal and the body is ephemeral, how are they joined? How do they form one entity, a human being created b'tselem Elohim, in the divine image? We understand it that the body, no less than the soul, is divinely formed. If at source each person is entirely a creation of God, then can we with hope turn to God for help and forgiveness? As the poet says, will you hear my voice, you who are far from me? Will you hear my voice wherever you are, a voice calling aloud, a voice silently weeping? Perhaps my last day is already drawing near, drawing close perhaps the tears of parting. I will wait for you till my days flicker out. Like Rachel, waiting for the one she loved. Each year at Slichot, I reflect that my own body and soul are indeed living connections with God. Asking, as our matriarch Rachel did, will you hear my voice? May God hear our voice, and may we hear one another with greater depth and clarity as we sojourn together on this journey we call life. As we say, Amen. I invite you to turn in your books to page 106. Let us read together. The psalmist sang, "At midnight I rise to give thanks and praise." And so we come to this hour of slichot, under the canopy of night, to celebrate goodness, to proclaim what is right and true, to praise, to thank, to bless the great giver who gives and renews our lives. We turn to loved ones, to friends, and to our people everywhere, the whole house of Israel, and our hearts turn toward the human family. We pray for its healing. Yet hardest of all is the inward gaze, the return of ourself, the honest reckoning of the soul, cheshbon hanefesh. The storms, the bitterness of our lives, the damage and distress we cause. How to own up to it all and find our way back with integrity, in peace. We ask, have we the will to change? And if not now, when? Page 104.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Page 108. We join together. God is my light and my refuge secure. Whom shall I fear? God is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Just one thing I've asked of God, Only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and to gaze in delight at God's temple.
We enter into an important moment in our slichot prayers, that of cheshbon hanefesh, the accounting of our souls. If you'll join me on page 110, we'll read together and then we'll take some moments to look at the questions, to look into our own souls. Be patient toward all that is unresolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answers. And among those who say, Shema Yisrael, let none be lost. Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael haomerim Shema Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael. Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Shemor Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael haomerim Shema Yisrael. Page 117. This prayer, this song, Kianu Amecha, is based on Song of Songs, My Beloved is Mine and I Am My Beloved's. A midrash applies to the verse to our relationship with the divine and expands its dimensions. This is my God, I am God's nation. This is my parent, I am God's child. This is my shepherd, I am God's rock. This is my guard, I am God's vineyard. From the Shir HaShirim.
Kianu Amecha Ve'ata Eloheinu Anu Banecha Ve'ata Avinu Anu Avdecha Ve'ata Adonenu Anu Kechalecha Ve'ata Chelkeinu Anu Nachaleta Ve'ata Noraleinu Anu Tolecha Ve'ata Roeinu Anu Karmecha Ve'ata Lodeinu Anu V'ulatecha Ve'ata Yotreinu Anu Rayatecha Ve'ata Dodeinu Anu Segulatecha Ve'ata Kroveinu Anu Amecha Ve'ata Malkeinu Anu Marecha Ve'ata Mahireinu. On page 121, we prepare to change our Torah scrolls. The elders. We rise now to honor them, our elders, from whom we have learned stories and lessons, with whom we have studied and worshiped and celebrated the passages of life and time. Our elders, who have taught us goodness, honesty, and the sanctity of life, whose mantles are woven with threads of memory, embroidered with silver and gold, majestic folds of silk and velvet, in royal hues befitting their rank, as brilliant as the sun. We rise now to honor them as they put aside these everyday mantles of splendor and don their sacred garments, the vestments of purity and holiness, befitting the days of awe so soon approaching. Each in its turn is fitted with wimple, mantle, and crowns, each more stunning than the last. Majestic folds of velvet and silk to clothe the holy words, a canvas of purest white, as brilliant as the moon. The holy season has begun now, and the elders in their yontif clothes stand proud, stand tall before us, beacons of wisdom and light, reminders of the holiness we seek on this new day in Elul. Together, we rise. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun. וחטא ונקה ונקה. Please be seated. There Page 127. As the days of awe near, we reach for the infinite. Mindful of our frailty, we seek the holy. Despite our mortality, we carry within us the ancient of days. Despite loneliness within, we sense that we belong to a single soul, a spirit that fills the entire universe. Let us find in that universal spirit a new source of strength and significance, more compassion, more generosity, more gratitude for life. Let our hearts be open to self-reckoning, and may we grasp how vital to our lives is teshuvah, the path of return. On this night of forgiveness, we confess our wrongs and take account of sins, failures of judgment, weakness of will. The hour is late, our need to be forgiven profound. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be baseless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Together we confess. Together we take responsibility. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, Shanu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Tafalnu Sheker, Yatsnura, Kizavnu, Latsnu, Maradnu, Niatsnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Hashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu Orer. Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tayinu, Titanu.
Page 130.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באונס וברצון, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ברכילות, על החטא שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב.
Together on 131. We stray and we sin when we fail to make peace the highest good, when we are silent in the face of evil, when we forsake those who suffer far away, and when we shun the wronged and destitute among us, when we diminish God's image through violence or indifference, when we fail to take care of those who depend on us, when we engage in slander or deceit, when we distort the truth for personal gain, when we judge others rashly or unfairly, when we stoke the fires of communal strife, when we fail to embrace Torah, the tree of life, to walk its paths, to make its ways our own, we stray and we sin, when we offer no blessings, for the breath within us, and for the wonder of being. For all these failures of judgment and will, God forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Selichot, selachanu, mechalanu, kapelanu, ve'al kulam Eloha selichot, slach lanu, mechalanu, selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu.
God, help us through these days of awe to prepare ourselves for the new year with its promise of new life for our bodies and our souls. Help us face questions we wish to avoid. Help us accept truths that do not comfort. We wish to journey to the light, but the path to it is hidden by all the promises we never kept, by the goodness and the joy we deserted. May the words from the past show us the way of return. We begin the road to repentance. Meet us, God, as we journey on it.
Shema kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Chuz verachem aleinu Shema kolenu Adonai
In a moment, we are going to hear the sound of the shofar. It has become our custom that we leave slichot with only the sound of the shofar ringing in our ears. I've been told that of all the things that we rabbis ask you to do throughout the year, this is the hardest. But I want to encourage you to lean in. A teacher of mine taught me to lean into the sound of the shofar. Maybe you've heard that teaching recently. She's taking it in. As the shofar blows, breathe, focus. The shofar is our ancient meditation. It encourages us to withdraw from the noise of life and go inward. It prods us to get intimate with ourselves and ponder our state of existence. It requests of us to be still, quiet, and open to the blessed unfolding of the new year. So on this slichot, as the shofar sounds, let us hold on to that quiet just a little longer. There is plenty of chaos and chasm and noise in our world, in our lives, in our homes. May the resonance of the shofar remain with us as we enter the home stretch of our preparations for these high holy days. We rise and join together in the middle of page 140 together, which will be followed by singing Avinu Malkeinu and hearing our shofar blast. Together, Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, we come before you without pretense. Avinu Malkeinu, we are reaching toward you. Help us to find you. Avinu Malkeinu, strengthen us for the holy days that lie ahead. Avinu Malkeinu, be with us as we strive to heal ourselves and become whole. Avinu Malkeinu, help us to repair a broken world. Avinu Malkeinu, hasten us the days of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu ki ein banu masim. Tiki Gedolah